Welcome to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we talk about the top 24 quarterback rankings for week 15. You ready? Those Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom. Rolling on the field.
Those Fantasy Goodfellas. All right, before we get started on this week's rankings, let's just wrap up and see how we did on the last week's rankings. And before we get started, let me just explain a little bit about this video. We're not going to have Richard, so what we're going to do is we're going to use some other rankings, and then we're going to talk about each of the rankings, maybe show you some graphs, and kind of see if this can help you with your lineups this week. All right, let's get before we get started, but let's look at how we did last week. All right, last week's rankings came in like this. Now the first thing we want to do is show you who was injured, and there was no injuries. Now the next thing we want to do is who made the cut, and this is who made the cut. So we use Fantasy Pro rankings to kind of plug it into the stat machine, and so what we want to do this week is we're going to continue that. But you had Kyler Murray. Even though he got injured within the first 3 plays, he was out of it. And then you also had Derek Carr, Tyler Huntley, Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett did not make the list. Now, what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and show you the different stats for this week and then talk about it. So the first thing I want to do is I am going to all right, we got a little technical difficulty as I figure out what we did for our rankings. I'm going to use a different thing to kind of check it out. So this is what happens when you do things live. Now we are just going to go look, and so okay. All right. Now we got everything set up. So sometimes when you do these things live, I'm still trying to work out some of the kinks in these videos. And let's go to the screen. So right now, coming in at number 1, we have Jalen Hurts, home versus Chicago. Now Jalen Hurts was last week's ranked number 2, and he is playing decent. And I think what makes it a decent ranking is he's getting 2 passing TDs and a rushing TD, which is going to help him go into those rankings. One of the stats I want to show you is this is okay. We're going to move on to at number 2, Patrick Mahomes, home versus Houston. Patrick Mahomes had a heck of a week 14. He had 352 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and the team as a whole, the running backs, Jerick McKinnon did really well. He had 112 yards. So if you had 352, they're rolling right now. And the only thing is, it was mostly spread out between. It was mostly a passing offensive this week, but Patrick Mahomes is playing really well. We should expect him to make the next top 24 rankings. Coming at number 3, we have Josh Allen versus Miami. Josh Allen, the team seems to be winning, but Josh Allen doesn't seem to be doing as good as you'd like him to do. So they won last week with only 1 passing TD, 1 rushing TD. He came in ranked 9th. Overall, his rankings for the entire season, he was ranked number 1 twice. So I don't really expect him to be ranked 1 this week, but I definitely think that he's going to be ranked within the top 6 or 7. Now coming in at number 4, Joe Burrow at Tampa Bay. Joe Burrow, the team did pretty good, but they didn't need much for Joe Burrow. He had 2 passing TDs, 239 yards. If you look at how he's doing overall, he's kind of on the lower side of his passing yards, and for TDs, it was kind of he was middle of the pack with his TDs. So I should expect another only 2 touchdowns for Joe Burrow again. At number 5, Justin Herbert versus Tennessee. Justin Herbert had a lot of passing yards, didn't get into the end zone. He had 1 passing TD, and he was ranked 10th. If we want to look at, see what his receivers did, Mike Williams is back. He had 116 yards. Keenan Allen almost eclipsed that 100-yard receiving. But they're doing good. It looks like they just didn't get into the end zone, but Justin Herbert was slinging it in Week 14. At number 6, we have Justin Fields, home versus Philadelphia. Justin Fields is making his return after a few weeks. Justin Fields, the only thing is when you come, I'm not sure what we're going to expect from him, but on his standards, that was a pretty low week in Week 13. But we should expect Justin Fields to kind of be in the top 24. At number 7, Deshaun Watson, home versus Baltimore. Let's see, Deshaun Watson is warming up. So if you look at the stats in the Week 13 when he came back, he had 131 passing yards, no TDs. Then in Week 14, he had 276 passing yards and 1 passing TD. So he's warming up. He's got the weapons. I think that he can do fairly well in Week 15. At number 8, you have Lamar Jackson at Cleveland. Lamar Jackson is not doing too well, coming off of injuries. So we're not sure what we're going to expect. But my biggest concern is what does the receivers look like for him? Is he going to have some good receivers? Not sure. At number 9, Dak Prescott at Jacksonville. Prescott's kind of having those steady games, almost 300 yards, 1 or 2 passing TDs. He was ranked 15. I expect that to be very similar. He's going against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville, he's slinging it. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 passing quarterback for Week 14. So Dak Prescott, he had 284 1 TD. If you want to look at what he did over the course of the season, you can see that passing yards, he was pretty much the biggest passing yard of the season. Passing TDs, he was on the low end, but Prescott's warming up. That Dallas offense is doing really well. At number 10, Kirk Cousins, home versus Indianapolis. Cousins had a really good Week 14. He had 425 passing yards and only 2 TDs. Let's see. So he's killing it right now. He's crushing it. But if you look at Justin Jefferson, he's got arguably the best receiver in the entire league on his team. He had 223 passing yards, and that made a big difference. And then you got TJ Hawkinson kind of having 6 catches, 77 yards. So Hawkinson's getting involved in the offense, and that can only bode well for them. Not sure what Cousins is going to have. I can probably say he's going to not get 425 passing yards, but he should be in the top 24 for sure. At number 11, you have Geno Smith, home versus San Francisco. Geno Smith is playing extremely well right now. Obviously, he has good receivers, but he had 264 passing yards, 3 passing TDs to go with 20 passing rushing yards. And if you look, you got Marquez Goodwin, 95 yards, DK Metcalf. So we're going to have to blast through this real quick. Let's go ahead at number 12. Let's see. I wonder if you can pause this thing. So what we're going to do is, let's go to the stream. Now, all right, we got lots of learning curves when it takes and we go live. So we try to do this live, so if you guys have any questions, we can kind of answer them. But the biggest challenge is you always run into some hurdles when you're the person that's hosting this and going through the stats. So at number 12, got Tom Brady versus Cincinnati. Tom Brady had 253 passing yards and 1 passing TD. I don't know what's going on with Tom Brady. Is he going downhill? Is he having a good season? Not sure. There are some problems with Tampa right now. He's getting the passing yards, not sure about the touchdowns, and if you look, not one receiver's doing well. So there's some problems over there in Tampa. I think Tom Brady's not going to be, I think this is a little high for Tom Brady, number 12. Don't expect it to happen. At 13, Aaron Rodgers, home versus the Los Angeles Rams. Aaron Rodgers is coming back. But, you know, here's another stellar quarterback over the years. Just not doing too good this season. But in week 13, 182 passing yards. I think that's when, no, that's not. But 1 passing TD. Not sure what we're going to expect from Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. At 14, Tua Tagovailoa at Buffalo. Tua had a mediocre game, had 145 passing yards, 1 passing TD. For him, that was totally a terrible game. Pretty much a second or third worst game of the season when he's playing. And it's just, you know, not sure what's going on with that Miami offense. Definitely looks like they have some problems going on there. At 15, Trevor Lawrence, home versus Dallas. You know, Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 quarterback in week 14. That was kind of unexpected, especially for me. I didn't think he was going to have that good. You know, he also had that injury scare. So if you think 368 passing yards, 3 passing TDs, 1 rushing TD, he definitely exceeded the expectations there. And he had the most yards he had all season. So maybe he's picking up and we can start depending on him for the rest of the season, especially if you're into the playoffs with Trevor Lawrence. At 16, Mike White, home versus Detroit. Mike White was expected to do well. He barely made the top 24 rankings. He had 268 passing yards. I think the problem was we expected much more from Mike White in that New York Jets offense. But 268 passing yards is fairly well if you're slinging it like that. I don't think it just fell for him. But it was kind of a mediocre game for their standards. Now, at number 17, you got Daniel Jones at Washington. Daniel Jones, it looks like that New York Giants offense is struggling. They seem to be trending downwards, but 169 passing yards, 1 passing TD, 1 rushing TD. The rushing TD is what kind of helped them with that number 11th ranking. If you didn't get that rushing touchdown, it'd be a lot worse. And overall, if you look at him, he's the middling quarterback, you know. I think he's going to be right around the same rankings for week 15. At number 18, you have Andy Dalton, home versus Atlanta. That offense is That offense, let's see where we were. That's the passing yards, what to expect from Andy Dalton. Let's go at number 19. We have Ryan Tannehill at the Los Angeles Chargers. Tannehill had 254 passing yards, 2 passing TDs. If you look at where he is, that's about where he is. Probably be more like 200 if you look at his average over the season. And passing TDs, maybe he gets into the end zone this week. At number 20, Matt Ryan at Minnesota. Matt Ryan's been looking his age all season. If you look at what he's been performing, he's kind of like a 200, 250 yards every week. TDs, probably can count on him for about one touchdown. So if you have Matt Ryan, I would expect him to kind of have 200 passing yards and a TD. I think that is about right for him. At 21, you have Brock Purdy at Seattle. Now I think this is a little low. Purdy's been doing well. You have to say he's performing. 2 passing TDs and a rushing touchdown. He's holding his own, and I think that's only going to improve a little bit. There's a little scare with his receiver, with Deebo Samuel going down. So Ayuk's picking up. Some other people are going to have to pick up this week, but they have the weapons, and I think I'm high on Purdy right now. He's been playing. He's exceeding the expectations. At number 22, you have Derek Carr, home versus New England. Carr, I'm not sure what's going on with him. He's got the weapons. Like Richard used to always say, just throw it to Devontae Adams and you do well. Anytime they don't do that is when they're going to have issues. But he had the second worst game of the season, and that's not going to bode well. So he's going against New England. It's going to be another struggle for Derek Carr this week. At 23, Russell Wilson, home versus Arizona. I don't know what happened to Russell Wilson, but he exploded this week. He was ranked number 3rd overall. It was a shock to see Russell Wilson slinging it. And look at that. Jerry Jeudy had 3 TDs. That's unheard of. You don't get that many TDs. And we didn't even expect Jeudy. I had Jeudy. I didn't even start him. So he definitely exceeded the expectations there. So I think I'd be a little bit higher on Russell Wilson this week, especially since Arizona just lost Kyler Murray. I would say that Russell Wilson can have another stellar performance this week. And coming out at 24, you got Mac Jones at Las Vegas. Mac Jones, they got that win. The only problem is he didn't get into the end zone, and that's going to be an issue. 235 passing yards, didn't get into the end zone. And look what happened. He didn't make the top 24, right? So Mac Jones was ranked 25. If you can't score, I don't care how many yards, you're not going to make it. And if you look at overall how many touchdowns he has, it's not cutting it. So I don't expect Mac Jones to make the top 24 in week 15. And that's pretty much your top 24 quarterback rankings. That's my show you some stats. I don't see any questions here that people might have, but that's going to end it for us today. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to always like and subscribe. We're going to be taking this throughout the season. We're going to just run this all the way to the playoffs ends and the championships crowned, but that was your top 24 quarterback rankings for week 15. Those fantasy good fellas.
Boom, boom, boom. Rolling on the field.